So he's like, let me come up with some names. I think I might have something for you. So he gave me some names, and he came up with OX SOX.
Okay.
OX SOX. It's simple. It'd be an easy website domain. And, it's not something that would be taken for trademark because there's so much that goes into the trademarking process. If you put like an animal in front of the socks, that's likely to not be trademarked.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, everybody? My name is Adam, and I'm the host of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, the show that is dedicated on bringing on passionate people, learning about their stories, and delivering value to entrepreneurs. So if that's what you're interested in, go ahead and follow, like, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, where you get to know a little bit more about people, passions, and all things business. Today, sitting across the way, I have Matt Tesvich of OX SOX, a recently launched company dealing with footwear. Footwear, right?
That's right. Yeah, I love the introduction.
Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. This is awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I have to say, the way that I found out about you is I was scrolling LinkedIn and I saw this post. You are right now a senior in college.
That's right.
At
UGA.
At UGA, and you have launched your own company.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's very entrepreneurial of you, and I'm so fascinated to kind of like dig into your story and learn a little bit more. But before we get there, tell us about yourself.
All right, so I'm a senior at UGA. I grew up in Georgia my whole life. I'm a management information systems major.
Okay.
So I'm kind of on it's a mix of management and computer science.
Okay.
So in my opinion, that's the best degree at the business school because everything is moving toward the internet and cyber warfare and technology. And so I just think, that's the best way to go.
Gotcha.
So I was able to leverage that and then use that in my business here with OX SOX for the website, the back end stuff, media. And so
awesome.
That's where we're at today.
Well, take me to how we get to SOX, right? Like SOX is kind of like a unique thing to kind of like, especially with your degree.
Right.
How do you kind of like get to the point where you're starting like a sock company?
That's a great question. So I grew up playing baseball and my feet always stank.
Yeah?
Yes. So I'd put my feet on the vent when I was little and my dad would be like, dude, you got to throw your socks away. That stinks. Put them down. We're turning off the air. Roll down the windows on the highway. Kind of thing. So I always had that in the back of my mind. My socks are brutal.
Yeah.
And so
how many packs of socks would you go through like a season?
A lot. I'd rip holes in them and they stunk, so it was a bad combination.
Okay, got it.
A bad combination.
Got
it.
it.
So one night my roommate had this towel when I got back from pitching. It was a practice. So came back, it was a weird towel. It kind of looked like an octopus. It had all kinds of stuff, like strings hanging off of it. Yeah. And so I'm like, what is this, Dylan? Like, what is going on here? And he said, this towel, you can wash your hands without soap. Yep. And so I'd never heard that before. I said, where did you get this? And he says, it's not on the market yet. My aunt works at University of Tennessee, and it's a special technology they're working on.
They are developing.
Yes. They were developing.
Okay.
And so my first thought was, how do I put this on my feet?
I love that.
Because I knew it was odor-causing bacteria that cause your feet to stink.
Okay.
So if this towel was antimicrobial and it could kill the bacteria on your hands or your body, whether it was a hand towel or a big towel, then it would kill the bacteria on your feet, likely causing your feet not to stink.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
So that's how we got to the socks. So from there, it took a lot of R&D and working with different manufacturers to figure out how do we get this into socks and how do we get it to work.
So the technology actually existed already, or did they finish off like all of like the development? Like the University of Tennessee, are they done with it?
I'm not sure where they're at today as far as their development on it, but I leveraged that technology and some of the materials that were in there, and then I had to combine it with some other things. Proprietary blend to create the odorless effect in our socks.
So how come there is technology out there where it can kill bacteria, right? Like from a cloth? Because usually when I think about like killing bacteria, it's like soap and water. That's kind of like typically what you do. Right. So what is like proprietary about that technology?
So normal materials like a cotton, that's very absorptive, right? So cotton's more absorbing than maybe like an athletic material.
Got you.
So using that and then some different blends that we've put together that with the help of that towel, that's how you get the special combination of the complete odor killing effect.
Gotcha.
And then so, other companies may use like chemicals or sprays, but that'll wash out.
Yeah.
So we specifically use threads. That way it's environmentally friendly and it doesn't wash out the sock.
This is awesome because I think it goes to show you that, you don't have to solve it within a day, right? This is a problem that actually you had for an extended period of time.
Right.
Do you wear the socks like all the time now?
All the time, and I'm no longer self-conscious about my feet. I can say that. Yes.
Got you. So how long did take me through the R&D process?
Yeah, so that was a process. So I immediately went on to Google and searched, U.S. sock manufacturers, foreign sock manufacturers, and tried to figure out who could do this.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, I had a list of 10, 15 sock manufacturers in the U.S. I called all of them, and I knew the materials that I wanted to use. I did research on how they work together with each other, and not one U.S. manufacturer could make it.
Why?
They said that they didn't have the materials on hand, or the materials were, too costly, or it was just not a big enough batch.
Is it a pricier type of material?
Yes.
How much more?
I would say a normal sock could, maybe be 10, 20 cents to produce, and our cost is about $2.
Oh, wow. Per sock or per pair?
Per pair of socks.
Okay,
yeah.
got it. So it's a lot.
Right. It's a lot more expensive, but we use higher quality materials to where it prevents ripping, things like that, odorless, and our socks have all the bells and whistles that people are looking for, arch support, things like that.
Cool. So take me through those. Like, sell your sock to me. Like, why should I buy OX SOX?
Right. So if your feet, they get stinky, they sweat, we're sweat resistant, odor wicking, so it gets rid of all that good stuff, blister resistant as well.
Okay.
And then I've personally worn these socks for months because I've been developing this for the last 18 to 20 months now. And so I've been wearing all our samples, and none of them have ripped.
So I have to ask, how frequently are you washing your socks? Are you just wearing them? Let me go for 2 months wearing the same sock and test it out and see how it goes.
I normally don't push it past a week.
Okay, got it.
But I like to, so I film TikTok videos and stuff with interviews, and so that way I can show people that don't necessarily believe it, that it works.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll wear it for a week and go up to people on the street or at school on campus and say, hey, guess how long you think this has been worn?
Why have you started doing that? What's kind of making your decision to move towards, I guess, content creation?
Content creation? That's a great question. So everything is short form video right now. Mm-hmm. We've seen TikTok completely change the game with Facebook, with YouTube, with Instagram, right? Everything was still pictures.
Yep.
And this kind of gets into Web3. Are you familiar with Web3?
Of course.
Yeah. So the internet's changing. We're going from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. I think that this short form video is kind of an introduction into that, into the metaverse. But like I said, TikTok is changing the game on that. And so now everybody's doing reels and short form video. So my mindset is, how do I leverage this and people that are just scrolling on their screens, and how do I make it entertaining and fun and show them a cool product that works, make that go viral? How do we get it to go viral?
So have you had any success on that end, or how's it going?
Yeah, so our second video got 22,000 views, which was awesome because at the time, and this was on Instagram, not TikTok.
Okay.
And I think it's a lot easier to leverage TikTok and blow up on TikTok.
Sure.
But we only had probably 50-ish followers at the time. And so that was really cool. We've had another video pop off, get about 130,000 views.
Awesome.
So we're getting some growth.
What's the impact on sales?
We're doing pretty good on sales. The biggest thing is right now we're in the pre-order phase. So we're 4 to 6 weeks out at the time of this podcast, October 30th.
Yep.
So
no, your product hasn't even
hit
the, I guess, the warehouse yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So our product has been made, 10,000 pairs are coming in, but we have not, we don't have it physical yet. So it's all pre-orders.
Tell me about kind of getting the product here. So where's the product being made?
So right now it's being made in China.
Okay. And then you called over there? You flew over there, or
yes,
what?
So lots of calls, lots of text messages. I've got a buddy who's actually from China, and he helped me. There were some translation issues and some issues we had with getting product over here. So we were able to send voice messages back and forth in Chinese. And funny story with that, our manufacturer, she heard one of our first voice messages, and she was like, Matthew, I had no idea you spoke Chinese. And so she sent me this huge message in Chinese back. Yeah, it was hilarious.
That's awesome.
And I said, look, I don't speak Chinese, but I got a buddy who does. And I said,
it.
If we have any issues in communication, if you don't understand something, please let me know. We can easily fix it.
Man, I have to speak to your tenacity, right? I think that in here there's been, a lot of people out there have the dream. I want to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody is able to execute. And I think what you've done here is execute. We are still in the pre-order phase, so there's still kind of we still have to get sales. But every move that you're making is putting you in a better position for down the line, right? And so I have to ask, how did you get to this point, right? Was there always a drive from you to become a business owner? What's kind of the inspiration for you?
That is a great question. So It started with baseball. I love baseball. I played baseball my whole life growing up. I got it. So freshman year of college, I got up to low 90s velo-wise. So I was a pitcher, left-handed pitcher, 91, 92.
What does that mean? Sorry, I'm not
Yeah.
familiar.
So I could throw a fastball 91, 92
Okay,
miles
got
an
it.
hour.
Okay.
So that was a huge thing, and especially as a left-handed pitcher, that's good enough to go to a big Division I school.
Okay.
So that's like a Georgia Southern, University of Georgia, like those are, big name schools. So I got to this point and it was amazing. And so I started having these big schools reach out to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that was when COVID happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that pulled everybody who offered me a scholarship or a position on the team, the roster. Yeah. So the NCAA, the guy who's over all the universities in the United States, over the sports, they said, hey, right now you got to pull your offers. We don't know what's happening with COVID. All the seniors were staying and all the freshmen were coming in. So it created a backlog. So that was tough.
Did it make it more challenging to go that route?
Yeah, way more challenging. So I started looking at junior colleges, which is a route for baseball where you go for a year or two and you have the option to go straight to the pros. You can get drafted or go to a college. I looked at international professional baseball, had a few teams actually offer me contracts with that.
Wow.
Yep. And so I'm like, you know what? It's going to cost too much money, and I don't want to go to a junior college at a 4.0. I said, why don't I keep training, try to hit 100 miles an hour, play at a University of Georgia, or, get drafted. And so, because at the time I wasn't playing baseball, I ended up getting hurt, tore my labrum and UCL.
Oh.
Double injury, which is not good, right?
What was this during game or what?
This was just training.
Training?
Yep. One day I was pitching and I'm like, it's not there. And I got an MRI and I was done.
Man.
But
what did that take me to that moment? Like, what did that feel like?
So the first pitch, I sailed it over the kid's head. Mm-hmm. And we were throwing a flat ground, which means you're not on a mound, you're just, 50, 60 feet away, and you're just throwing pitches. And it's to work on your grips and everything. And I'm like, man, I think I'm like 20 miles an hour slower right now. And I was always very accurate. And so I started spiking balls and throwing it over his head. I'm like, there is something wrong. And I didn't feel a pop. A lot of people feel a pop. I think mine was kind of like a rubber band, and it was just slowly wearing away.
Sure.
And so it ended up being both things were torn. But instead of being upset, like that was tough because my identity was in baseball. I mean,
live, breathe, eat, everything.
Yes. I don't drink. That's a big thing for me. I'm very healthy. I'm always up early. Like fitness, baseball, that was huge for me.
Sure.
And so when anybody asked, who are you? What are you doing? I'm a baseball player.
Gotcha.
So that was tough for me. But I looked at it as God's closing the door. He has a bigger plan for me. And so in high school, I used to read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's my favorite book. Let's see, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I love books like that.
Awesome.
Yep. And and so I love, the idea of entrepreneurship. And that was my only other option besides baseball was go pro and become an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so circling back to your question, that's the inspiration for me because there's no secure job besides figuring out how to make money for yourself and become an entrepreneur, in my opinion. And that's what Robert Kiyosaki says, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's just, I love that mindset. And you create jobs for other people, you help other people, and you're achieving your dreams. And I feel like you're really living out your purpose,
I love that. And I have to say, like, it's such a breath of fresh air speaking with you because I think that's so rare to find right now. I mean, I don't know kind of like if in your circle group, friend group or whatever, like, are you kind of like someone that is like, very unique. Like most people are like, still partying, and there's nothing wrong with partying.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I did my fair share of partying, but I guess like, the question is like, what is causing that mindset to shift for you? Like, is it just that you don't have an interest in like drinking at all, or why so opposed to that?
For me, I felt like drinking was I heard too many horror stories of people that would be drinking and get scholarships pulled or get kicked off of professional teams. And I didn't want to take any chances with that. For me, it was too big of a risk. And it's short-term thinking versus long-term thinking.
Understood.
And I feel like a lot of people think in the short term, whether it's financially, whether it's for fun, and they create issues for themselves, and they almost give themselves a hurdle that it's like a mental hurdle. You know what I mean? Whereas if you think in the long term, you build that success mindset and you think, there's small road bumps, but how do I get over that to get to my long-term goal? And for me, my long-term goal of success is just, I want to help others. I want to give back. I want to glorify God. But how do I create that lifestyle that I want to live, right? And to me, just drinking is not really a part of that. Partying is not a part of that. And it sounds bad, but I feel like I'm wasting time with that. Like you never know when your last day is on earth. And to me, why not live every day like it's your last and maximize your potential and help other people, you know?
Love that. Love that. I'm going to ask you a kind of a connecting question now.
Yeah.
The discipline of baseball.
Yes.
Has that impacted your discipline within either school or your business?
Yes, it's helped me in both. So my high school baseball coach was tough.
Was he?
Yes. We had tough conditioning. We'd be running. So we had block schedule. So on Wednesdays, we'd have weightlifting for the first hour and conditioning for the second hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be 110 degrees on the football turf. And we'd be flipping tires. We'd be doing sprints. I mean, half the team was throwing up. It was brutal. Yeah.
Throwing up.
Yeah. Like he had just massive trash cans out there. And we'd be running through lunch.
You already knew when you were going out there that you were going to.
Right. We knew like you had to be locked in.
Yeah.
And the purpose was to weed people out. We had 4,000 kids at our high school. We had 180 kids try out freshman year for baseball, and they took 18. The purpose was to weed people out and see who really wanted it.
Gotcha.
And I love that because everybody went in scared. But I knew, people have to be able to get through this. And the first one was tough. The second one was a little bit easier, and it kept getting easier and easier, and the group started to get whittled down.
Yeah.
And so that conditioning, as much as I didn't like it, I learned to love it because that fueled my passion and my drive. And I love that. And then in addition to that, once the season started and I made the team, I wore red sleeves the first day, and our colors were blue. And so my coach yelled at me from across the field. He said, Tesvich, he said, you're wearing Forsyth Central's colors right now. He said, if you don't have that fixed by tomorrow, you're off the team. And so I immediately bought blue sleeves.
How did that happen? Like
I didn't know any better. I didn't have blue sleeves. I didn't know anybody on the team. And so, I'm a freshman. I just wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking. And so from that day forward, I was disciplined. I always had the right color belt on. We always had to have the right color belt, socks, pants, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And as tough as it was, no other high schools were doing that. You could wear shorts to practice at other high schools. And, it might look silly from the outside, but it taught us discipline.
Yeah.
And, if you're early or if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time, right?
That's right.
And so I love that stuff. And that mindset translated to everything. And discipline equals freedom.
This is a very old school way of coaching. It's rare that you find coaches like this anymore. Why do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's
right, like because you've experienced it, and obviously you're reaping the benefits of it, right? Like enduring hardship and being able to kind of like step up to the plate every single time.
Right.
That's a great like trait to have.
Right.
And yet, I think, like you said, the other teams, they're wearing shorts. They're probably playing music, like whatever. Right. Which way do you think works?
I think there's a happy medium.
Mm-hmm.
As you see in modern day baseball, the Astros, teams like that are consistently, deep playoff contenders are in the World Series. They're loose, having fun, and as a lot of the Latino players will say, keep it suave, have fun, loose.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is having fun and being loose. But I also think that discipline is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
I love listening to a lot of Navy SEAL podcasts and things like that. And Jocko Willink, he has a book, and it's called Discipline Equals Freedom. And I love that saying because it does. You see so many people who are undisciplined and, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And discipline truly does equal freedom. Mm-hmm. And going back to that question of in school and business, does it help? Yes, because, you set your schedule, you're regimented, and, food, everything's planned, and, you create time for yourself.
Yeah. That's awesome. So let's get back to kind of like the OX SOX story.
Yeah.
So we've kind of, you're starting to do this R&D. You're speaking to Chinese people through a proxy right now.
Right.
Kind of like, what are the things that happen next? Like, did you already have the name already picked out, or how'd you arrive on the name?
So that's another question in and of itself. So I first started getting samples, and I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this.
Uh-huh. Even the buddy that brought you the towel, you didn't?
Yeah, I did not even tell him. Yes.
Anyone.
So he actually found out right as I was about to launch pre-orders.
Okay,
and he was shocked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kept it to myself because that's one thing is, a lot of people are all talk. I didn't want to be all talk. I wanted to stay focused and get this done. So I started getting samples shipped to the house, and so it was a weird Chinese package, with Chinese characters written all over it. So I'd run out to the mailbox before Dylan got home, bring it up to my room, cut it open, and I'd have socks.
Yeah.
And so I'd wear them for a couple of days and see if it worked, and then wash them. And the first pair they were incredible. They felt amazing, and they didn't stink. I'm like, these are awesome.
Yeah.
Put them in the wash. They stunk.
After the wash?
So after the wash, I wore them, and they reeked.
Oh.
And so they used chemicals and it washes out.
Got you.
Yep. And so I had a lot of issues like that. Or, the fit would be too tight and they didn't understand, there's a difference between how the American foot is versus in Asia. It's a very different fit.
Sure.
And so the sizing and stuff created issues. I went through probably 30 different manufacturers.
30 different ones.
Yep. And I was talking to over 100. I mean, the list, you just scroll, and it was the people who could actually do it, and then the ones who actually could make a good, viable sample.
What did you find along the way? Like, what was that experience like? Because I'm sure it was like, I mean, again, you don't speak the language, right? Are there a lot of kind of tricky people out there that kind of like try to get you on, like, with the chemical that's sprayed on, like so forth and so on?
Yeah, so a lot of it, people are trying to rush you to buy, right? They're trying to put pressure on you, right? They're trying to close the sale, which I understand from their perspective, but it doesn't make sense because you haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
So they're trying to push you to buy, and especially in bulk, and then they'll raise the prices on you.
Got you.
So you just got to be firm and say, hey, no, I need a sample. And, they'll try to charge you at the wazoo. Look, I'm willing to make a bulk order with you if it works. And if you stand by your product and it really works like you say it does, then this shouldn't be an issue.
Got you.
And that would scare some people off.
Yeah. Got you. So that's how you kind of like weeded out like the good from the bad.
Right. And then I get samples in, see what worked, and a lot didn't work. And I had to keep doing deeper and deeper research, reading these scientific articles about what certain fabrics do and what different, materials do and how they work together and create the best blend possible.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you get to the point where you've selected the sock. Do you have any other funny stories about like the different socks that you got? Did anyone ever catch on? Like, did anybody in the family like ever ask hey, what's going on with these like Asian packages? Like, what's going on?
That's a great question. So one night I went home to see my family, and we were all watching a movie.
Yeah.
And I'm famous for just sprawling out on the couch. Right? So after a long week, I'll just sit back and slowly fall asleep during the movie.
Yep.
So I'm sprawling out, and my dad's like, "Dude, what are those on your feet?" He said, "Where did you get these?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Don't worry about it." And he's very inquisitive, and he's like, "Dude, tell me, like, where did you get this?"
Okay.
And I said, I'm trying to keep it hush-hush. And, my whole family's there, my sisters, my mom. And so I told him, I said, hey, I'm working on odorless socks. And he's like, what? And he's like, how long have you been doing this? I was like, 4 or 5 months now. And, I had just finally gotten the samples after 4 or 5 months. So he was quick to pick it up.
What was this, the final? Or like
no, this was one of the first ones.
Okay.
The final took a while to get to. I would say that probably took 8 to 10 months to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, when I say it was a tough process figuring out somebody who could actually do it and make it work and fit right, that was a tough process.
So were your parents supportive? Or were they like, oh man, this guy's like out of his mind?
Right. No, they were all supportive. They honestly were like, praise Jesus. That
really?
That you have something to help your feet from
How
stinking.
How bad do your feet stink, man? In order for your family to... I'm just kidding.
No, but that was
Do
funny.
they have any entrepreneur spirit within them? Like, do they have like businesses themselves?
So my extended family in New Orleans, they have their own electrician company. They own gun shops, things like that. So there's definitely a lot of entrepreneurs in the family.
Okay.
And my dad's fully supportive of it. He actually was the one who put me on a lot of these books, these mindset books.
Love that.
Yeah, and as much as he's like, dude, you need to read this stuff. And I was in late middle school, early high school. I'm like, I don't want to read these books for you. I just want to have fun with my friends, play baseball.
Sure.
I'm so thankful he did that because I feel like I'm, just mindset-wise, head and shoulders above a lot of the people my age, and I can relate to anybody,
Yeah.
And like it says in How to Win Friends and Influence People, you can learn something from everybody. And I love talking to people. I love making friends, and it's so important.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we get closer to we've done all these samples.
Yep.
We've kind of like the family's found out now.
Right.
And then you get to kind of like closer to the end of R&D where you've actually selected the sock.
Right.
At what point do you name the organization or the company?
So I started with something called Not Socks, N-O-T, Socks.
Okay.
And it was going to be, I was just playing around with names where I had just papers of names and all kinds of stuff. And it was No Odor Technology Socks, Not Socks. And then it's not like the normal sock, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. It doesn't stink. And so I thought that might be something that rhymes. It's kind of funky. It would stick.
Sure.
And then I started talking to lawyers to get it trademarked, and it didn't work. So
why? Because there was something
with a very similar name.
Got you.
And so I was like, all right, back to the drawing board. So my dad and I were always on the phone with like ideas. He was super on board after
awesome.
I told him. So, and very business minded as well. We click back and forth. So he's like, let me come up with some names. I think I might have something for you. So he gave me some names, and he came up with OX SOX.
Okay.
OX SOX. It's simple. It'd be an easy website domain. And, it's not something that would be taken for trademark because there's so much that goes into the trademarking process. If you put like an animal in front of the socks, that's likely to not be trademarked.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the lawyer and I did my research on my own to try to save some money there. Are you familiar with Sarah Blakely?
I am.
The founder of Spanx?
Of course.
Yes.
I've seen her speak before. She's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, she is awesome. And I heard how she wrote her own patent, and I love that. So I said, how can I replicate this? And trademark was one of those things.
Sure.
I went down the patent process. Unfortunately, it's not a patentable invention. But the trademark process, they charge for, if they do the research, the deep research to see if it's like a 99% hit that, we can get this if it'll pass, or, you can do it on your own and just pay the trademarking fees with the lawyer. So that's what I did. I took about a day, researched everything, saw what was out there, and it looked like it was going to pass. So I did that on my own and paid the trademark lawyer just to get it.
Each of these moves that you're making, right? Like, going for the patent, starting like the research, the R&D, like how are you deciding what's next, right? I think a lot of like entrepreneurs, they don't know kind of like this process.
Right.
How have you been able to kind of like understand what is next on this kind of like path?
That's a great question. I think that falls back into the long-term thinking that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I have a big path of, where do we want to end up and what are the steps to take it there? And I'm a big podcast guy. I listen to so many stories, and I feel like I was there with the entrepreneur with their failures, with their successes, and, what they would have done different. One of the biggest things is taking care of the legal aspect first. Mm-hmm. So many people get so excited about an idea that they just jump in and they don't have an LLC. They don't file their taxes right, and then it bites them in the butt.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure I had my ducks in a row there and handled that. And then, like you said, strategic chess moves to move towards our end goal. Because 1% better every day, right? We want to keep moving towards our goal.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So let's kind of we've gotten to the point where OX SOX is chosen as the name.
Yep.
At what point do you kind of like open this up into the world and say, hey, this is what I have going on?
So that was still probably another 2 or 3 months after I had everything filed. I bought the domain, the website domain, getoxsox.com, so getoxsox.com. And I wanted to make sure all our social media handles were consistent before, launching all this stuff live. So I got all the different social medias, locked that up. And then once we had, set an order with our manufacturer and had that in place, and then the website was done, I unleashed it.
Yeah.
And I pumped it on LinkedIn where you saw it.
Yep.
Pumped it on my personal Instagram, my TikTok. So I've got a TikTok following of about 150,000 people. So I started pumping it on that, and then really just try to blow it up as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Once I had my ducks in a row and everything was set.
Take me back to the TikTok. 150,000
yes.
Before you launched.
Yes.
What is that from?
So that's not the OX SOX account. I've got 2 different accounts.
Okay.
This one's a stories account, so I'll tell different stories. And I had
from your baseball.
It's not baseball stories. It's more internet stories, and it's like trendy stories, things like that. And I had some buddies in high school who they actually have a TikTok consulting business, and
I love that.
They ran me through, how does the algorithm work? What do people look for? And so I tried to make an account of my own. Didn't do much. And then I worked with them, and they really, really helped me out. And within 7 to 10 days, I had 10K.
Let's shout out that company. What company is that?
It's called Built Gen.
Built Gen?
Yep.
Are they? How do you know them? Just through high school?
We went to high school together.
What are they doing now?
They are working on an NFT, so it's called Metaversity.
Okay.
And it is really cool. The artwork is super impressive, and it's an entrepreneurial brand as well. So if you're a part of their NFT project, their NFT collective, then you've got access to all their trainings and all that good stuff.
Let's talk about something with the unique content that you're creating. So, I did some homework and kind of like watched some of the videos, and you do this kind of interview style, right? Like it's kind of like, you hold up this mannequin foot up to people's face so that, they can take a good, nice, deep smell of like the sock. And are those socks actual socks that have been worn for literally a week?
Yes, so we got one that's an OX sock that's been worn for a week and a normal sock that's been worn for a day.
Yeah, and they can absolutely tell the difference. I mean, so like it's night and day.
It's literally about 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time that somebody doesn't guess it is when they think, why would they be asking me this? Why is the answer so obvious? And then they say, this one smells worse, but I'm going to go with this one because I think it's a trick question.
Yeah.
We have not had one person that said, this is way stinkier than that one.
Yeah. And how'd you come up with that concept? Like what in the back of your mind kind of led you down that path of creating kind of like this challenge, right?
Right. So interviews are something popular, and I'll do another shout out. Leon on TikTok, it's LEON.OND. He's got 1.8, 1.9 million, and he's one of my buddies at UGA.
Okay.
And he actually is doing so well on TikTok that he was able to drop out of school and just do this full time. Yep, focus on this full time. He's got media companies.
Is it an agency or?
He started his own agency.
Okay.
He's doing a lot of good stuff with it, and he's really trying to leverage it while it's hot right now.
Yeah.
He does interview style videos, and he does a bunch of different things, but I love that interview style because you're asking real people who don't know you, where it can't be baited, right?
Sure.
You know, people might think it's your friend, and that'll be in the comments too in a lot of these videos of, oh, you know,
that's just like,
right, that's
a
fake.
buddy or
right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get real people to smell the stuff, get it out in the streets, and have a different form of marketing because nobody wants to see the old ads where, you know, it's a picture of the product in front of the beach.
Yeah.
They want it interactive. They want to be entertained. People want to be entertained.
I think that's very, very true. If you're into baseball, I'm sure you've heard of a brand called the Savannah Bananas.
Yes.
Have you been to a game before?
I have not been to a game, but funny you say that. I actually went 2 days ago to go see their stadium, and their marketing and everything there is fantastic. I've seen
It's on point.
Yep, Jesse on LinkedIn, and then I actually worked with a company called Hibbo, and they're out the same shop as a company that does a drink for Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I bring that up is because if you ever get the chance to go to a game, and I highly recommend it, it is literally entertainment like at a different level.
Yep.
There's constantly something happening, either on the field, in the stands, and I think it's perfect for you as well because it's baseball, right? Like that's like, you know, very in line with the stuff that you guys do. But, you know, for me, I think that what is unique about it is I think the landscape of consumerism is changing.
Right.
There is an aspect of entertainment that has to be there. Gone are the days where you just post a single picture and this sells.
Right.
Now you have to create some sort of like entertainment. You have to give them the hit of dopamine, right, that they want, in order to make that sell.
Right.
And currently, I think that your strategy is right on point, right? You're leveraging TikTok, leveraging Instagram. That is the way of the future.
Right.
Yeah. What's kind of in store moving into the future while we're on it?
So I think athletes is something important. We've actually had a major Division I college baseball team. I don't know if I can say who it is yet, but major Division I college baseball team said they want to outfit all their athletes in OX SOX.
Amazing.
So, you know, being a new company, 6 weeks old, that's fantastic. We don't even have our tangible product in, and they're interested in that.
Sure.
So I think that's going to be awesome. And then really just hammering and getting our name out as much as possible, because they say 6 or 7 times, I think somebody needs to hear your brand name to be willing to make a purchase. And so I want it to become a household name. People know what this is and understand, because this is a foreign concept. Odorless clothing really isn't a thing right now.
Yeah.
And so it's foreign. People don't know what that means. Your feet are the sweatiest part of your body. I think it's half a pint a day you sweat out of your feet, and they stink. So the idea of like an odorless sock doesn't make sense. Everybody just knows feet, shoes, socks stink.
That's right.
So how do I change the narrative on that, and how do I make people aware of this product?
Are you planning on sticking with socks only, or what's the future roadmap for you in your mind?
Yeah, I'd love to go into different clothing, but you know, one of the quickest ways to fail is to focus on too many different areas. So I want to hone in on socks, get that narrowed down, you know, figure out our game plan and get that set, get that moving, and then we can start to diversify into other products.
Love that. If there's a word of advice for people out there, the entrepreneurs that are listening right now, what would it be?
I think one of the biggest things is, you know, everybody has a great idea, but you gotta just jump in and take the leap. I know it's scary, but you gotta jump. You just gotta jump and you'll figure it out along the way. When the door's cracked, stick your foot in, introduce yourself, network. You never know who you're gonna meet. All this stuff is so important. I really suggest reading, listening to audiobooks, podcasts, other people's stories. Just get into the success mindset stuff. And once you flip that switch into positive thinking, into that success mindset, you create opportunities for yourself. And it is amazing what happens there, what God opens the door for you, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming to the show. It's a pleasure. I'm so excited to wear some of these OX SOX because I'm dealing with also sweaty feet. But it is amazing to hear your story. I see an extremely bright future for you, and I'm so excited for what's to come.
Thank you. Likewise with you as well, and this has been awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Good stuff.